I have a little inside joke, but I'm not going to make it. Because inside jokes are not funny on camera, but for me this is like really fun. But I can't talk about it, man. It's one of those things I can't talk about. Anyways, guys, it's time for our 5th game of the night. There's going to be some super high level TVT between aLive and Heart. aLive is our purple Terran and Heart is our blue Terran. The map is Antigua Shipyard, and man, I'm excited about this game.
That's right. Heart is spawned down here in the bottom left, and aLive is cross spawn top right. So no idea what we're going to see from these guys, but I'm sure it will be fantastic. aLive has a resume that is worth mentioning. Former IPL champion, and as you already mentioned about Heart, Kev, 2-time MLG runner-up.
I'm just sorry, man. I'm trying to log in right now, but oh.
And in fact, in one of those MLG runs, had to play against Marine King. Did not make it past that beast, but that's because Marine King won the thing.
Nobody made it past Marine King.
That's exactly right.
He was the ultimate final boss in that account.
It's going to be a gas opening here for Heart, and aLive is gasless, so I think right away we're going to be seeing something like a Banshee versus a fast expand, which is something that we see very, very often in TVT.
Yeah, it's one of those classical situations. I remember back in the days when people were like, wow, no gas, fast expand, can that really work? How are you going to deal with Banshees? But people got so much better at it. But the Banshee players, of course, they got better at this as well. They know they don't have to sacrifice those Banshees as long as you keep them alive for map control. They can be very useful eventually, even dealing with pushes. Certainly when it's Cloak Banshee, everybody loves those TVT fights, which is sort of a standoff. And then there are 2 Cloak Banshees remaining, which kill every single tank because all the Marines died.
Gotta love it when that happens, Kev. aLive, the first guy to send out the scout. Perhaps that's because he does want to be the expanding player, and he's going to get a good look inside the main base of Heart, who hasn't bothered walling off at all. So this SCV is going to poke up and see absolutely everything, and should give aLive a good opportunity and plenty of time to prepare for what's being thrown his way. We see this SCV already on the low ground for aLive. Didn't start the command center though. Just grabbed some minerals. Brought it back to the main base.
He's going to actually build a command center in his main base, just like he did against Crank. I have to correct myself, by the way. Someone on Twitter pointed it out. Slayer, of course, Crank is not with Slayers anymore. He's actually looking to join a foreign team, most likely. So he asked me to support Crank. I'm not sure how I could do that. But if there's anybody watching, I do think you guys should watch Crank's stream, because I think he's a very, very solid Protoss player. Even though he just got a little bit unfortunate against aLive, but that happens to the best of us, man.
Sure.
If you watch my ladder games, I get unfortunate every game.
Me too.
If I wouldn't be so unfortunate, I think I'd actually be really good.
Well, I would rather be lucky than good, fortunate than good any day of the week, Kev. Looks like it's going to be a reactor opening from Heart, so maybe some Hellion drop, as we do see that starport going down. He could still follow this up with a Banshee later on if he wants, or it could just transition right into an expansion. I
want to give a nice twist to that. I'd rather be cheesy than good. If I could Void Ray all in all day, I would.
You do Void Ray all in all day.
No, the maps are too bad, man. I haven't Void Ray all in ages. Actually, I did it today on the Shakuras just to get the old feeling back. It worked.
Of course it did.
We see more Rexes going up. aLive, of course, is going to have the economical advantage eventually. He's even on workers already. I'm a little bit surprised by that, despite building that command center.
And we've got a couple of Hellions out on the map already, Kev.
Yeah, the medevac is going to be out on the field as well for Heart, so it's actually going to be a medevac drop. And then it's going to be even nicer for aLive if that command center is still in his main base, because if he only has to worry about one base to defend. He's actually going to be very well. This is such a crucial scout. This SCV sees those two Hellions, so I think from now on he's already able to piece it together. And I don't think he's going to take the risk of floating over that orbital too soon. Yeah,
not in any time in the immediate future, Kev. These Marines are going to usher the Hellions out. A couple more Hellions are going to come join up.
Did aLive have a scan the main base of Heart?
Let's find out. Nope. He's only seen what he saw with that initial SCV scout. So Drop has loaded up. Marines are all in the natural. What is back at home? Oh no, he has left a handful of units behind. 4 Marines to try and deal with these 4 Hellions. Might be exactly what he needs to buy himself the critical time to get up here and respond to this. And actually, he's brought every unit up into the main.
Oh, all the SCVs are lining up though. That's a little bit tricky.
Those Hellions are the most indecisive Hellions I've ever seen, driving all the way through the main base and then just leaving.
Oh, and he's going to take a couple of additional shots from those 2 Marines. So superb defense by aLive, actually. Despite perhaps lining up, he's going to be able to pick off at least 1 Hellion. Wow. It's going to be 2 Hellions. And the other 2 Hellions take quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, Hard is dropping a command center in his natural.
Second drop in the main base. This one's going to do a little bit more damage. So Hard revealing a little bit of his intentions there, killing a grand total of 8 SCVs, loading up and getting out of there with those 2 Hellions. He is expanding behind this. And he has created a bit of an advantage for himself. Those 8 workers are actually exactly what's, well, it was exactly, but now it's 10 workers that separate these 2 guys.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Of course, double orbital is going to help a little bit, even though I believe 1 mule died as well, or it expired. The biggest problem for Hard is going to be that aLive is going to have a lot of Marines. Stim is on the way, and if aLive is going to follow it up with some sort of push, of course he's going to have to worry about his main always, because Hard is going to try to do the same thing all over again. It's nice for Hard, no doubt, but he didn't win it yet.
Ooh, a lot of units, and they are searching for these medevacs. Hard's going to have no choice but to abandon that plan.
Actually, Hard's stack is, or at least his follow-up, seems to be a little bit better than I thought, as the first siege tanks are already starting to roll out, and he's also researching siege mode. So all he has to do is get a couple of tanks in nice position, and then I actually think from that moment on it's going to be a very comfortable stage to play TVT.
I think you're pretty right,
2 tanks
He's
right
going to
now.
have a pretty healthy defensive advantage. It's going to be very, very difficult for aLive to attack into that. I mean, he could still try and do something with drops, but aLive hasn't started his first factory yet. So his own medevacs, there's the first factory. His own medevacs are quite far away. We can see Hellions still being active outside the natural expansion.
The biggest problem for aLive is that he's going to have to be, or that he has to be pretty paranoid that the moment he's going to leave his base, that those Hellions are going to show up in his main base again. So he's going to have to leave a lot of units, but if he leaves too many units, he can never actually be aggressive.
Oh my gosh! Nothing happened.
1 Hellion fell, Ben. But meanwhile, we see another medevac in entering the main base right now via the minimap with a couple of Marines in it, but aLive doing a very good job of splitting up his army, not keeping all the Marines at one place.
Excellent job of multitasking there for aLive, being aware of things on both fronts. Hard trying to find openings, but aLive is just a little bit too ironclad in his defense.
Stim is almost ready.
Might catch this medevac, but no, without Stim, they are not going to be fast enough. Back in Hard's natural, we see a couple of tanks, a couple of Marines.
But I think if Hard is actually going to make a push, man, with a couple of tanks, and he still has all those Marines alive, we see a little bit of action once more on the minimap. Actually, it's a very big drop, and that's actually going to be, well, those are Stim Marines, but if the Hellions get good shots off...
Oh, taking that first burst of damage, the Hellions not really splashing on the Marines, only hitting 1 or 2 at a time.
But the medevac's helping out so extremely much for Hard right now, and aLive taking not a pretty big amount of losses, really losses that he can take in this stage of the game.
Yeah, losing a handful of Marines. Maybe he lost a single SCV there. Not much economic damage dealt, but still, it just continues to keep Hard. Yeah. He's the guy setting the pace of the game. He's the aggressor.
But Hard is doing this so well. Now we can see him moving out that army, Ben, with those tanks and with Siege being ready. He's even dropping in another additional command center, so maybe it's going to be a little bit more of a contain. But if he sieges up those tanks on the low ground near the main base of aLive, I don't see how aLive is going to break that. He's going to have to play so passive for a long time, and we all know these type of contains. He has a lot of Marines. That's the only thing that kind of works.
He does have a lot of Marines, but that barracks positioning is really risky. I feel like these tanks can just hit everything, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, there's the siege. Not that many Marines covering this. aLive might be able to just stem into that. We'll have to wait and see what he chooses to do here.
But it's weird because Hard has a lot of Marines, they're just not here. He actually has like 30 Marines on the map as well.
Where are they? Oh, there's a couple of them in the main. They're just like spread out all over the place. A couple of them in the natural. This attack still lives on. He's managed to force one barracks to lift. It could in fact burn down. Only about 10 hit points left.
Oh, your SCV.
SCV will get there just in the nick of time, but this push being brutally effective. aLive looks like he's finally had enough. He's going to come down and try to do something about it.
With combat shield and stim, I guess it should sort of be okay. Those 3 tanks are scary, but he has the amount of Marines.
Actually, he's just going to walk
counter
right past.
That's hard, no? But
he had to have spotted at least part of that.
Okay, he's going to see it right now because he had a couple of Marines in the middle of the map. And right on that moment, aLive is going to turn around, perhaps hoping that Hard is going to unsiege because he wants to get those tanks closer. Do you think that's going to happen?
Oh, man. Hard's just going to walk right up here into the natural. aLive is making his way back. He's going to try and drop on these siege tanks. That's going to be pretty effective. He'll manage to kill all of these tanks, Kev. But at what cost? Look, his natural is completely ransacked. Every SCV is going to fall. The command center could very well die as well. The Marines did clean up those siege tanks, but Hart has cleaned up aLive's only base outside of his first one, and that's bad news.
That is very bad news, certainly considering Hart, of course, dropped that additional command center as well. I don't think aLive is even aware of that third orbital, right? Is that correct, Ben?
There's no way. Let me just... no, he doesn't even know about the natural. Of course, he's assuming that it's there, given what he sees. But great position for Hart, who's playing some great StarCraft. I would have pegged him as the underdog in this matchup, but it looks like he is staying one step ahead of aLive here all game long.
No, Hart's playing some very good TVT. In the start, I was kind of wondering where I was going to take it, and since aLive didn't take his natural immediately, but kept the command center in his main base, I thought the first Hellion arrest was really fine, but then perhaps aLive chased those 4 Hellions a little bit too much, those additional Hellions, those 2 Hellions, they killed 8 workers, and from that moment on, it was a snowball effect. Hart did everything right, and aLive kept making a few minor mistakes.
aLive does send a single Marine forward to see if there is a third base. And based on the positioning of the army, he can probably assume that there is one. And he looks like he's thinking about dropping here, and I like this decision. There are a few units here. Well, the drop is going to...
Oh, there are a couple of Marines there as well. It's so risky. aLive, what are you doing? He's taking some damage of that missile.
Oh, he's just going to come up and flank the army. What a great move here by Hart. Stems forward and just crushing everything. Wow, what a patient maneuver there by Hart. And with that, aLive taps out. GG, Hart takes it. Very exciting TVT there, as the gauntlet is once again passed. So $75 go to Hart.
aLive only winning 1 map does not qualify him yet for the event voting. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. You got to win 2. So nice gameplay there by Hart. Not sure who his next opponent is going to be. We'll figure out who it is in the break, Kev.
I think it's going to be Pig, our Australian Zerg player, but I'm not sure. He has to be here, of course. If not, we're going to pick someone else. But I would love to see him representing Australia. We didn't really have someone from Australia yet in the gauntlet. So, Ben, I think that would be nice.
No time like the present, Kev. Guys, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with more StarCraft 2, more of the Gauntlet when we get back.